Jasmine Crockett walked into a hearing most had already written off. But by the time she finished, the walls of Congress felt like they were pulsing. A sleepy oversight session turned into a national reckoning, and the president's inner circle, scrambling for oxygen. Nobody expected fireworks, just another Wednesday hearing tucked between cable news reruns and a dying baseball season. The room was half full, half listening, phones lit more than faces, a few scribbling on notepads they'd forget in coat pockets. The chairman mumbled something about oversight and integrity, and most figured it'd be over before coffee went cold. But Jasmine Crockett wasn't there to sip coffee. She took her seat, 2 spots left of center, wearing a steel-gray blazer that didn't beg for attention but refused to be ignored. When she slid a thick red folder onto the desk, no one looked twice. When she didn't move, didn't blink, didn't even glance at her water, people started to. At the White House, the president hadn't even tuned in. He was deep in a closed door with military brass, dissecting coastal surveillance routes. When a staffer interrupted to say, "Crockett's veering off script," Trump allegedly shrugged. "Let me know if she makes noise." She did. The chairman, Representative Brackley Stokes, droned through his opening remarks. Crockett sat, still as stone, but beneath that stillness, there was fire. And when the mic passed to her, it didn't take long to feel it. "I want to begin by saying, I didn't come here to make headlines," she began, "but I did come here for answers." A few heads lifted. Stokes leaned in, not dramatically, just enough to register she might be serious. She was. "Back in March," she continued, "I requested this hearing after reports of unregistered troop movement surfaced in Pulaski County, Missouri. The White House called it routine National Guard training. No escalation, no federal presence." She paused, not for drama, for effect, then held up a printed email. "This says otherwise." The C-SPAN feed split-screened, Crockett on one side, the document on the other. She slid it under the chamber's overhead cam, dated February 12th, addressed to the Deputy Chief of Staff, from a DHS analyst. She read aloud, "Troop deployment scheduled to begin February 15th in Pulaski, coordinated under OPA 7 order. POTUS has reviewed and approved final staging." Silence. She looked up. So either someone forged this email, or the president authorized a domestic deployment he denied ever happened. Reporters in the press gallery glanced at each other. One mouthed, "Is this real?" Another whispered, "Holy hell!" Down the hall at the White House, a junior comms staffer sprinted toward the Situation Room with an iPad yelling, "You need to see this." Jasmine wasn't finished. "I've submitted this email and 4 more, all time-stamped, all within 3 days of each other, all referencing OP7 deployments to Missouri, to the Congressional record." Chairman Stokes interrupted, trying to re-establish control. "Representative, let's remember national security boundaries." She didn't flinch. "I am. That's why I'm asking this committee why these troop movements were never logged. Why state officials were kept out, and why this body, this very oversight committee, was told it didn't happen." The live stream's viewer count ticked past 2 million. She could have stopped there, but Jasmine wasn't just delivering a bombshell, she was lighting a fuse. "I'd like to submit one more exhibit," she said, holding up a handwritten memo. It was a dispatch log note, dated February 13th, signed by Sheldon Karev, a mid-tier logistics officer no one had paid attention to, until now. In his sworn statement, received that very morning, Karev recounted a call from Strategic Ops instructing him to log 64 active-duty personnel for a February deployment. The order ended with 3 letters, DJT. The room shivered. Someone near the back coughed, too loud for coincidence. Cameras caught Brackley Stokes clenching his mic. "Are you implying—" he started. "I'm reading," Jasmine cut in. "These are facts, not speculation." Then came the courier. A manila envelope marked "Urgent," handed directly to her. She opened it without ceremony. "This is Karev's follow-up statement received 20 minutes ago," she said. It reads, "I feared retaliation, but after seeing my name ignored and misused, I couldn't stay silent. The order came from the top. This wasn't about threat response. It was optics. I was told he wants boots on the ground before the Missouri primary. Gasps. From the audience, from the dais, from the live stream chat blowing up in real time. Stokes tried to object. Jasmine didn't raise her voice. It's signed under federal counsel. If you doubt it, subpoena him. I'd encourage it. There it was. Subpoena. The word that changed everything. White House aides scrambled. Truth Social drafts lit up. One advisor was already red-flagging Karev's personnel file. Another was calling in favors to trace the leak. But Crockett wasn't done. I'd like to request screen share access, she said. Stokes hesitated. The cameras caught it. Then, he nodded, a monitor lit up behind her. An internal White House email. Subject, Final approval for show of force initiative. MO region date, February 10th. Directive, POTUS wants troop presence. No press, localized branding only. Messaging handled in-house, state coordination not required. Jasmine let it hang, then flipped to the next. An email to digital staff. Seed local footage of troops through Facebook groups. Make it feel grassroots. Do not mention POTUS. Then the kicker. Mo primary prep. Ops final attached were drone stills. Black transport trucks parked near a church in rural Missouri. Time stamped February 11th, 3 days before the deployment that supposedly never happened. The trucks had no plates, no markings, but the dust plume behind them was real. So was the girl who posted the original footage to TikTok and had her account flagged and suspended. Her photo was dismissed as fake, Jasmine said, until she sent it to my office last week. A new image. Same trucks, different angle. Now near a school. A student was told to keep walking. Another saw a man with a camera directing shots. This wasn't training. This was staged. A truth long buried was clawing its way out. Tense turned to claustrophobic. Then Jasmine said something that made it all feel small. The witness who provided most of these documents has decided to go on record. Stokes froze. He's here now. A man entered the room. Tall, glasses, binder in hand. Daryl Monroe, the logistics coordinator who had resigned quietly in March, now stepping into history. Cameras whipped around, staffers ducked, lawmakers stiffened. Monroe sat, straightened his mic. I didn't want to be here, he began. But this wasn't a mistake. It was a deception. We lied. And it wasn't to protect people. It was to control them. He described the internal calls, the staging plans, the press denials, and one line that rang out. The president wanted Missouri voters to feel like they were being watched. Jasmine asked, "Are you afraid of retaliation?" Monroe paused. "Yes." "Then why are you here?" "Because I'm tired," he said. "And I've got 2 sons. One in college, one in high school." The room was dead silent, not stunned anymore, awakened. And Jasmine? She didn't lean back. She didn't smile. She just turned the page. "Boss, I can't teach them to speak up if I don't." That line didn't just echo through the chamber. It landed in living rooms across the country like a thunderclap. But what made it worse for the White House wasn't Jasmine's voice. It was the flash drive Daryl Monroe handed her next. No theatrics, no build-up, just a quiet handoff, like a kid sliding a note in class. Only the classroom was Congress, and the note might bring down the administration. Mr. Monroe provided this. "Under secure chain of custody," Jasmine said, holding up the drive. "What's on it are time-stamped recordings, Zoom briefings with White House and OPA officials, including one on February 11th. Chairman Stokes shifted in his chair. His hand hovered over the mic, then fell away. He knew. Everyone did. "I'd like to play a short excerpt," Jasmine said. 38 seconds. Before anyone could object, her staff had it queued up. The screen flickered. Audio raw, uncut. The kind that was never supposed to leave a classified room. A voice, later confirmed as Deputy Director Barringer, spoke plainly. So the trucks will roll early on the 14th. No fanfare, no signage, just presence. POTUS wants boots visible. In zone, no headlines. Tell locals it's routine. If there's pushback, call it a miscommunication. Just make sure he sees the footage. No music. No editing. Just those words. The oxygen in the room thinned. Stokes slammed his gavel. That audio was not cleared for public release. Jasmine didn't blink. It was reviewed and cleared by legal counsel on both sides. You've had this file for 48 hours, Mr. Chairman. I wasn't briefed on the content specifics, he snapped. You were briefed that it showed public deception, she fired back. And you did nothing, his voice rose. This is political theater. No, Mr. Chairman, Jasmine said, her tone like steel. This is accountability. And if that makes you squirm, ask yourself why. The room froze. You're out of line, Stokes barked. And you're out of time, she replied. Gasps. Phones lifted. Twitter exploded. Crockett versus the chair trended in seconds. Staffers backstage scrambled. Legal phones lit up. In the White House, a senior advisor reportedly muttered, If that wasn't scripted, it's the cleanest takedown I've ever seen. But Jasmine hadn't done it for spectacle. She'd done it because she'd sat through too many panels where truth was skirted, not served. When the room stilled, Jasmine's voice dropped. I'm not here to score points. I'm here because the people who sent me deserve to know who's making choices about their lives and why those choices are being buried under press releases. She turned to Stokes. You can gavel all you want, but the evidence is on tape, and you've only got one choice left. Keep pretending or start. Asking real questions, he didn't respond, just stared. And in that silence, the weight shifted. At the White House, no one was calm anymore. Phones rang nonstop. Aides paced. In the private dining room, Trump sat watching the replay, arms crossed, face hard. She wasn't supposed to have that. And aide stepped in. Sir, it looks like an internal leak. They've ID'd the whistleblower. I don't care what he calls himself, Trump interrupted. Why wasn't this shut down before she hit the floor? Another aide offered. We can still get ahead of it. Release a counter. Trump ignored him. On Truth Social, he began typing, Lying Democrat witch hunt, then paused. He erased it and typed, Nothing burger, another fake scandal from radical leftists. Hit send. Staff begged him to take it down. Sir, you're commenting on live testimony, he glared. You think they're playing by rules? That woman just aired military briefings on live TV. It wasn't classified, she whispered. He stared her down. Silence. Meanwhile, the press room was chaos. Did the president authorize a troop deployment in Missouri? Was the convoy real? Was it legal? The press secretary fumbled. All military activity was properly coordinated. But it was hollow. Fox News broke away from a border segment. This is moving fast, the anchor said. Former logistics officer Darryl Monroe has documents contradicting the White House, CNN followed. Crockett's tape rocks Capitol. Even conservative hosts hesitated. On one AM radio show, a caller asked, Why send troops into quiet towns during election season unless you're trying to scare folks? That question traveled. In the West Wing, the moment replayed again, Jasmine's voice, low and firm. The people who sent me here deserve to know why decisions are being hidden. Trump hurled the remote. It hit the wall, hard. Give me a distraction, he told his communications chief. I don't care. What? I want the cameras off her by noon. But it was too late. Online, Crockett truth exploded on X, Instagram, TikTok. Teenagers remixed her line, You're out of time, over beats like it was a diss track. Cable hosts called it the biggest political gut punch since Watergate. But this wasn't luck. Jasmine had planned for weeks. Every email, every witness, every breadcrumb. She expected pushback. She just didn't care. Because once the truth hits, it doesn't need pyrotechnics. But what stunned insiders was what happened next. Ordinary people, teachers in Ohio, nurses in California, union workers in Kansas, began sharing. The clip wasn't just viral. It was electric, and it wasn't her anger that stuck. It was her calm. "You're out of time" wasn't a soundbite. It was a release valve. Millions felt like she'd just said what they'd been screaming into pillows for years. The remix edits came fast, her words over gospel choirs, civil rights footage, voter lines, grainy war footage, no central slogan. Just one shared current. Finally, someone is saying it. By nightfall, Crockett Truth had over 4.2 million tags. An old teacher in Kansas wrote, "I've never cared about these hearings, but her, I want her in that room for my grandkids." A trucker from Idaho. "I'm not political, but she brought facts. That's leadership. Even conservatives couldn't agree. Some said she was reckless. Others admitted, quietly, she didn't lie." On a Baltimore podcast, 2 Republican operatives debated her impact. "She's a moment, not a movement," one said. "You sure?" the other replied. Felt like something broke loose. People weren't just watching anymore, they were digging. Photos, videos, troop sightings. In Pulaski County, a pastor went live. I asked them who they were. No one answered. I thought it was a drill. Drills don't dodge the press. By sunrise, every major network had crews in Missouri. Jasmine? She stayed silent. No tweets, no press, nothing. And somehow that made her louder. Congress panicked. Stokes released a dry statement. "We'll continue reviewing documentation." No one bought it. Her office? Flooded. 15,000 emails in 24 hours, most in support, some asking for evidence. Others sharing stories. Whistleblowers stepped forward. DHS, DOD, Office of Digital Communications. Carla Amundsen, Jasmine's chief, sat sorting them past midnight. "I've never seen anything like this." Jasmine, blazer off, heels discarded, looked up. "It's not about me," she said softly. "It's about giving people proof of what they already feel." "Think they'll try to shut it down?" Carla asked. "They'll try," Jasmine replied. "But now the public's watching. That changes everything." At the DOJ, 2 prosecutors requested satellite data. Quietly, carefully. On the Hill, talk of a second hearing swirled. Maybe subpoenas. Jasmine's name was on every tongue, even if whispered. Some staffers drafted resignations. Others tried to reposition. In Jasmine's office, no one slept. MSNBC floated the possibility of independence. Counsel. Legal scholars invoked precedent. If she proves public deception, one said, it's not just unethical, it's criminal. Still, Jasmine didn't gloat. She hadn't left the building all day until 2 p.m. when she stepped outside. A reporter caught her. "Do you believe the president should be prosecuted?" She didn't flinch. "I believe the truth should be prosecuted, wherever it leads." That clip led every news show. Inside the White House, Trump raged. "Get her off that committee, pressure her donors, find dirt." It didn't help. He'd posted 4 separate Truth Social statements, one calling her a political actress. It backfired. Women rallied behind her. Late-night shows played the hearing like a victory lap. She brought more evidence than a tax audit. Joked. One host, but it wasn't a punchline. It was a reckoning, and with it came threats, voicemails, emails, vague but dark. Jasmine addressed her staff that night. "We don't play defense," she said, "but we protect our people. That's priority 1. No one argued. In Ohio, Daryl Monroe watched her speech again. Surrounded by photos of his sons, he smiled. She's got this. But the biggest moment hadn't happened yet. It came the next morning, 7:04 a.m. Jasmine, still in her robe, answered Carla's call. "They want you on Face the Nation. Lead segment? And You and Senator Blakemore, he's calling this grandstanding. Jasmine wiped her hands. It was never about profile. Later that day, she skipped the media brief and the security file. Instead, she picked up a folder marked personal. A note inside read, "My father served. I did too. What you did gave us something back. Honesty." Jasmine closed it. Around the table, silence. "Blakemore thinks I care what he thinks," she finally said. "I don't." "They're baiting you," Carla said. "I won't bite," Jasmine replied. "And I'm not here for legacy." She paused. "I want people to stop feeling crazy when they say something doesn't feel right. I want to give them the words they've been denied." No one spoke. Outside, D.C. buzzed. But something was different now. Polls confirmed it. Public trust down 7 points. Youth voter engagement up. Colleges were requesting her hearing for civics lessons. She chuckled. Better than a TikTok remix. That night, Jasmine sat alone on her rooftop, blanket over her shoulders, city beneath her feet. "This doesn't look right," she whispered. "And they're finally seeing it." Somewhere in Missouri, a teenage girl who'd filmed a convoy months ago watched Jasmine's full testimony. Earbuds in, nodding. Legacy isn't a statue. It's a chain reaction, truth passing from one quiet witness to the next, because truth doesn't need to shout. It just needs someone brave enough to say it.